Hey everyone, welcome back to Bangor T Gaming, the #1 place on YouTube to get yourself ready for Guild Wars 3. If you're new here, the channel is all about covering the full Guild Wars universe from the original Prophecies campaign all the way through Guild Wars 2 and everything we know about what's coming next. Whether you're a veteran who remembers the Searing like it was yesterday or a newcomer trying to catch up on 20 years of lore before Guild Wars 3 drops, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because Guild Wars 3 content is only going to ramp up from here. Now, today, I want to talk about a video from one of my favorite Guild Wars creators, Mukluk, specifically his breakdown of the Guild Wars Prophecies lore. I'll link it in the description, but today we're going to go further and wider and in more depth about what he talks about. There are a lot of parts that are skimmed over because it is a 7 minutes video, so there is a lot more than we can add to that knowledge. Without any further ado, let's check out Mukluk's video.
Alright, so I just finished Guild Wars 1 Prophecies. I am now an expert at everything this game has to offer, and I am now going to tell you the entire lore of the game in as few minutes as possible. Here we go. You start out as a human, you don't know anything about the crimes that your people have committed. You're getting attacked by the Char, they are clearly the aggressors, and you are clearly the good guys.
He means that humans are not actually originally from Ascalon, from the Ascalon area. The Ascalon area used to look a lot different than right now, where the Chars were the native species that lived inside Ascalon. The humans are actually from Ore, which is not present into the current Guild Wars map because Ore has sunk, and so presently you cannot even see it. It's not in the Guild Wars 1 map at all. But the humans moved from Ore into other areas and colonized Tyria and took away land from the Chars, and that's how we end up with the Chars being confined behind the northern wall, which gets breached during the event of the pre-Searing. And to give you more context towards that, we can take a look at the map for pre-Searing, where we can see the northern wall and we can see the division. This is actually Ascalon City before the Chars burn it down, and we go into the post-Searing, into the actual game that connects everybody together. So Ascalon City, the northern wall dividing the Chars. Now the Chars live in the Northlands, and the Chars eventually break out and take back this land from there, searing everything that's green, everything that belongs to Ascalon. Charred Ascalon looks quite different, quite bleak, quite gray. It's a cataclysm for the inhabitant of Ascalon.
They are attacking, and the humans are like, we need some heroes. So you're like, all right, I need a job, I guess. And you go and try to get a job, and they're like, sorry, we're only accepting people that are 15 years old with 30 years of experience. So you're like, all right, I got to go get a second job. So then you go become like a ranger / necromancer or something. You come back with 2 jobs, and they're like, now you may help us. And then the Char.
Yeah. If you're new to Guild Wars, you actually have 2 professions on every character. It's like the first or second mission that you play in pre-Searing is actually picking up a second profession. So the looks of your character is given by your primary profession. So monk, elementalist, warrior, they all look different. But then every profession can play every other skill. Every profession has some skills that are particular to that profession. So for example, for monk, divine favor, those skills can only be played on a monk character. They cannot be leveled up by any other type of characters.
Decide at that moment to nuke the capital. You somehow survive, and there's a 2-year time skip. No idea what I was doing for 2 years. I guess I was just outside picking my nose. They don't address that at all, but
well, so it's true. The game completely skips over these 2 years. But the pre-Searing is actually done with the Cauldron of Cataclysm, which is provided to the Chars by the Titans. And the Titans take a larger role later in the story. And the Titans are actually being fed information by Abaddon.
2 years pass, and I don't know what I've been up to. We come back, and Ascalon is...
Oh, yes. you actually become officially part of the Vanguard. You can do so during the pre-searing, where the Vanguard quests are a way to reach Legendary Defender of Ascalon, which is reaching level 20 during the pre-searing, which is time-consuming to do modernly. Back in the day, you actually had to go fight the Chars and die so that they could level up. Once they level up, you can go and kill them so you can get a little bit of experience. Extremely time consuming, extremely inefficient. And actually, the game director for Guild Wars 1, whenever this got changed and the daily missions for the Vanguard got added, he declared that it wouldn't feel like being a legendary defender of Ascalon if you constantly had to die against the Chars in order to obtain a little bit of experience.
We come back and Ascalon is a mess. Everything's dead. So clearly this nuke affected this whole area because this was all green and lush. But we're fine. We were in the middle of it. We're in the middle of this, but we're fine. So we keep going and doing our thing. We're running around. We're doing side quests, stuff like that. And we end up on a mission where we find a big horn and we doot.
Play the forbidden note.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah, he's kind of right. There is there's one cooperative mission before Ruins of Sirmia, which is what he's talking about, this horn. That's a Great Northern Wall where we discover the armies of Chars are lingering right there behind the wall, very close to the city of Ascalon.
Makes it rain, and they're scared of rain, so that helps somehow.
Yeah, so he's right. It's not very clear. Maybe there is some more lore that we could talk about, but Mukluk is actually referring to the Stormcaller. That is a artifact that you find during the Nolani Academy mission. You use that to cause a soft rain or call the storm, as the name indicates. And that kind of puts out the fires that the Chars are using, so it intimidates them. It's not very clear. He's right. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on.
And then we're following Prince Rurik. We were following the king, but now we're helping the prince. Fine, he's in the royal line. We'll help him too. And then the king shows up, and the king and the prince have a spat, and they start fighting each other. And the prince says, "Come on, guys, we're leaving." And we're like, okay, well...
Yeah, it really feels like this meme right here. So what this is about is King Edelburn is actually very stubborn and wants to hold on at all costs to Ascalon and to its territory, while Rurik is saying, hey, we've been fighting here for 2 years. There is no hope. We are rescuing people left and right, but we can't get any wins against the Chars. And they keep beating us. We need to run to another part of the world. We need to go to Kryta and cross the mountains of the Shiverpeaks in between so that we can ask for help from our enemies in Kryta. And Adelburn is like, they're our enemies. They're never gonna help us. Rurik disagrees and decides not to follow his dad's advice and actually get the people that he rescues out of Ascalon and moving towards the Shiverpeaks on the trip to Kryta. And Adelburn finds out at the end of the Nolani Academy mission and banishes him from the Ascalon kingdom.
I guess he's our ride. So we join the prince, and now I guess we hate the king. I don't know. So we join the prince, and we start like going through all the Ascalon stuff, and we go through the Shiverpeaks. We meet some dwarves. They're like, yeah, we like the prince. We'll help the prince. So they help us. We get through the Shiverpeaks. Nothing notable happens over here at all. And then you get over here. You go to Lion's Arch. You're like, hey, can I come in? And
about the Shiverpeaks, he skipped a major plot line that really needs to be said because it becomes very important at the end of the game. So Rurik actually dies during the crossing in one of the cooperative missions. You're basically become in charge of taking these refugees through the rest of the mountain, finish the pass, hit Beacon's Perch, get down into Kryta, and take these refugees into Lion's Arch.
And the White Mantle are like, no, you can't, because there's a bunch of bad stuff going on. There's a zombie apocalypse happening. And you're like, okay, well, I need to get into the city. And they're like, sorry, if you want to get in, you have to fight and risk your life against hundreds of foes. and then we'll let you in the city. And we're like, yeah, that seems fair. So we, join the White Mantle because they seem like good guys. We fight against the zombie apocalypse. We're finally let into the city. Total dump, by the way. There's not even any houses, and everyone just lives like on a big patch of dirt. Very disappointing. Very like.
That's true. That's true. Let's take a quick tour of Lion's Arch. It's supposed to be an active and lively city. There is nice amenities. There's a fountain, but there is no houses. It's kind of crazy. Something to be said about Lion's Arch is that the royalty of the White Mantle, which we can see the emblems in the back, they're living in this big fortress in the back of Lion's Arch. That's where, quote unquote, the administration lives, but there is no house for the commoners. Where does Graham, the weapon specialist, live? We don't know. He's right. It's kind of odd.
Lackluster. Worst city I've ever seen. 0 out of 10. We go off into the jungle. We fight these other guys called, I don't know, I'm just going to say Black Mantle. We fight the Black Mantle. We're helping the White Mantle. And then we get to this one mission over here in, I don't know where this is, not Maguma. We get over in this mission, not Maguma, and like the quest is screwed up. Because like the main quest says like help the White Mantle. But the side quests are like, yeah, those White Mantle guys suck. Here, go sabotage them, poison their lunches, pee in their Cheerios, stuff like that. And
yeah, we find out that the White Mantle is not really nice. How can I put this? They're actually doing human sacrifice to build a Bloodstone. And the Bloodstone is this mythical, super powerful object that can contain all life, strength of the people that get sacrificed to make it. And so it is always used for sinister purposes, and we see it in Guild Wars 2. We see it again during Guild Wars 1 during the Maguma jungle, which is where this part of the story is. And in the meanwhile, we start finding out about a resistance, a movement that works against the White Mantle. Let's see if he quotes him.
It's just like, okay, I clearly traveled too far.
Are we the baddies?
So I backtracked a bit and started doing more of the other quests for the White Mantle, where suddenly, shockaroo, we end up finding out that they're actually the bad guys. So we're like, I guess we'll join the Black Mantle. So we join the Black Mantle, and we're fighting the White Mantle, and there's this thing called the Staff of Ore, and we get it.
Why are they the baddies? So the White Mantle takes order from the Mursaats. The Mursaats, we really interact with them at the end of the storyline when we get to the Ring of Fire, where they are trying to bring back the Titans into Tyria.
And we get it, and this guy comes up that's like Mr. Burns, and he's like, I can use that to help you. And we're like, sure, you seem trustworthy. So we give him the Staff of Ore, and he's able to summon 30 undead, which is something any good, helpful person with a magic staff is capable of doing. And he helps us get through lots and lots of nasty things over here in the jungle. I think nothing else really happens over there. At some point, we're teleported to the...
Okay, let's take a break. Let's talk about Vizier Kilbron. So remember how there were forces that were opposing the White Mantle while we were working with them. The perception of the player is that while you are trying to survive and help the White Mantle, you starting to become more and more captive. So you work with the Shining Blade, with Evenia from the Shining Blade, to internally and secretly oppose the White Mantle. While you are escaping their control, you manage to get away from the White Mantle. You encounter Vizier Kilbron, who is a character that is not who he tells us that he is. Vizier Kilbron is actually the final boss of Guild Wars Prophecies. He is the Lich, the undead Lich. When we encounter Vizier Kilbron, he makes us a promise. I will free you from the White Mantle pursuing you if you bring me the Scepter of Ore. The Scepter of Ore is somewhere lost in the island where you meet him. So you go through the cooperative mission, you retrieve it, you bring it back to him. He's able to summon a lot of undead minions, which should be kind of a dead giveaway, and he helps us escape the island. We then make it to the desert.
At some point, we're teleported to the desert. Over here is terrible. Well, I mean, it's a desert. Honestly, it's very on point for a desert. I got lost. Okay, I'm bitter about it. I got lost in the freaking sand, and I'm bitter about it. I had to look up a guide and find a map because I couldn't find the towns. So you do a whole bunch of quests in the desert, then you have to fight your doppelganger. But I was a ranger with a pet, and my doppelganger was a ranger without a pet, so it was really easy because my roller beetle ate his face. So, easiest doppelganger fight I've ever done. 0.
To add a little bit of context, the reason why you have to go through these missions in the desert is because you need to ascend. You may ask, why do we need to go through the ascension process? Well, it's because by ascending, we get to commune with the old gods. The old gods can give you the vision ability of actually seeing the Mursaat. The Mursaat are hidden to the sight unless you have ascended. Therefore, completing the ascension is an essential process to getting to fight the Mursaat.
Doppelganger in Guild Wars 2 way stronger because that one's like a raid boss. So after that, we ended up in the Shiverpeaks again. I guess we like lost our wallet and our phone while we were there, so we go back here to try and find it. We go through all of these zones, and suddenly we find the Mursaat. I'm like, hey guys, and they're like, Spectral Agony, and I die. And I'm just like, wow, that was cool. Okay, I'm pretty sure my character would still qualify for the hardcore challenge up until that point. Then I died when they looked at me. So I did what any smart person would do. Did you look up how to handle Spectral Agony? No, I started running 4 healers in my party. And I started gritting my teeth and forcing my way through these missions. And someone was like, hey, if you go back to that mission, you can get your armor infused and then Agony doesn't hurt anymore. And I'm like, fine. So I went back and I did that. And then...
So what does it mean to get your armor infused? The Mursaat have a mortal enemy, the Seers. The Seer and the Mursaats have been rivals always throughout history, and although the Mursaat have won the war against the Seers and there is almost no Seers left, we are lucky enough to find the Seers during the second round of Shiverpeaks cooperative missions. We meet the only Seer, allegedly, that's left on Tyria, and he gives us the secret to infusing your armor so that you can combat the Spectral Agony that is an added damage that they do. So the Mursaats have the regular, Elementalist, Mesmer abilities that normally they fight against you, and then they also have this debilitation ability that takes out and drains your energy, your HPs really fast. And the only way to combat it is the infusion.
Let's see. We got infused. I don't understand how the Mursaat are involved in the story at all. They were just kind of there. We get through the ice area. We fight the enemy.
Well, the Mursaat are there because the Lich Lord, which we encounter in the last mission, has started to set up dominion across all areas of Tyria. So during the last mission we have to do something very specific, which we will probably get to see, will probably tell us. And having Mursaat and undead in those areas is going to help with the final plan, which we have to stop.
Enemies of the dwarves, and then we get teleported down to the Fire Islands, and then we find out that the Mr. Burns guy that we gave the Scepter of the Ore is actually a Lich. I don't know anything about his motivations, don't know how he became a Lich, I don't know if he has any phylacteries somewhere.
The Lich is another servant of Abaddon. So there is not a lot of lore around Lich. That's probably something exciting about Guild Wars 3. We could get to know a lot more about how Lich come to life, how they come to power, how they get their allegedly eldritch magic. But we don't know about how he came to power. We just know that he's the main boss of Prophecies, and he has been influenced by Abaddon. And we know this because his plan is to bring the Titans back to Tyria, which is something that Abaddon has tried to do in the past again and again. The entirety of the plotline of Prophecies is driven by Abaddon trying to bring the Titans back to Tyria, and it's not overly clear. You have to put the pieces together as you're going.
He's just called Lich. Not the Lich, not a Lich, not Lich Lord, just Lich. His name tag gets shorter. That means he gets weaker. We get over here, we do the Ring of Fire. There's just a lot of fire elemental stuff. Fine. Then the Lich guy reveals himself and summons a bunch of Titans. The first one he summons is the boss of a mission, and he died in like 1 second. It was like the incredibly lackluster. We were laughing really hard. Then I get to Hell's Precipice, and muck you. This place took all the fun out of the game. So Hell's Precipice, there are Titans, super weak, doesn't matter, and there are imps. And the imps cast...
That's correct.
Nuke. And
yes,
if two imps casted at the same time, it almost kills the entire party. And until this point in the story, the whole story, I maybe had to restart 2 missions. This last mission took me like 10 tries. This is awful. It's absolutely awful. It's cancer. I cannot, 0 out of 10, do not recommend, worst mission ever. But we get through there. Rurik shows up.
Okay, he's not really telling us how the mission goes, but when you get far enough into the mission, you see that there are 3 portals that you have to close, and those are the portals that the Lich is using to send the Titan all across Styria, and that's why we find Mursaats in different regions. They are trying to set up a spot for the portal to be able to open and have the Titans land and invade. So that's why you find Mursaats in different areas of Tyria. Now, regarding Rurik, he just gave us a teaser and said that Rurik is there. So it's not exactly known how, but the body of Rurik gets recovered when he dies in the Shiverpeaks the first time around during the Shiverpeaks tour. And the Lich Lord uses his body to fight you before you fight the Lich.
It turns out he died. Oh, that's right. Rurik died. I forgot. It was a minor thing. Rurik died up here. He was cold.
He is not minor.
So Rurik dies up there, and then he gets animated as an undead down here. So we kill him again because he should have learned. He should have stayed down. And then we fight the Lich. He was easier to kill than any of the imps that we fought.
That's correct.
Yes. And yeah, it was.
Quick tip about the Lich. If you kill him while he's on the final Bloodstone, so you see there is like sort of a stage with columns around it. If you kill him while he's on the Bloodstone, he is not going to reanimate. If you kill him outside of the Bloodstone, if you kill him anywhere else during the final map outside of the Bloodstone, he's gonna reanimate a couple times.
It was, yeah, the toughest boss in the game are the imps on this island. Then we went back over to Drotnar's Forge, and there was a whole celebration, and everybody threw a party to celebrate that Rurik was dead again, and that was the end of Guild Wars Prophecies. I'll see you in Factions.
Yeah, that's pretty correct. Thanks to Mukluk for the great recap of the storyline. I hope that I was able to add some detail to shed some light over the things that could have been glossed over. The storyline is well written, but you really need to put the pieces together to know what is going on, and so I hope that I help shed some light on some of the things that you may not pick up during your first playthrough of Prophecies. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. I definitely want to help with any doubts that might be left after the video. The storyline is definitely even more intricate than the details that I brought, so let me know. I want to hear about it. Thanks for being here, and stay tuned because I'm going to be bringing all of the cooperative missions summarized here on the channel. Just stay tuned, leave a follow, leave a subscribe, and thanks for being here.